Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 83rd edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by Disney's number one hater, Jaden.
G'day.
G'day. And PTA's number one fanboy, a.k.a. Fitzy, a.k.a. Liam.
Hello.
Hello there. Hello there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is Princess Mononoke. Mononoke. Every time I had to type this before we recorded, I definitely got very confused about how many O's and N's I needed in the word, you know. It opened in Japan on the 12th of July, 1997. It was directed by Hayao? What's his first name? Do you guys know? Help me.
Yeah.
Well, I never thought that. I don't want to say it wrong now because I never thought it because I pronounce it differently, but I don't want to be wrong and say it.
Well, how do you say it?
I say Hayao. Hayao Miyazaki.
Hayao.
I don't know if that's right though.
Well, shit. All right, Miyazaki, of course.
Let me bring up the fucking
Google.
yeah.
Love that. Everyone, it's Miyazaki, all right? We all know it. We all know the man. It is an anime action adventure film, and the synopsis says, on a journey to find the cure for a curse, Ashitaka finds himself in the middle of a war between the forest gods and a mining colony. In his quest, he also meets San, the Mononoke Heim. I edited that synopsis because it was so bad. I actually had to fix it. Guys, what do we think of Princess Mononoke? Everyone here has seen it before. I feel new to this experience, which is cool. But Fitzy, on this rewatch, first of all, tell me how many times you've seen it, just because I want to know, and what do you think of it?
This is my second time watching it.
Okay.
I think it's sick. Yeah, it's awesome. The conflicts are really well realized, and the music and animation is just amazing. And I don't know, there's a lot to appreciate it, but I think it's always just like a lot of simple, good, like dramatic setup, and yeah, I really love it. So yeah,
I'm very glad. What about you, Jaden?
I think it's a masterclass of filmmaking. When I was first consuming these films, I was kind of watching it all in this. I was watching it amongst all other great anime and highly regarded, Akira and Ghost in the Shell and
sort of back to back.
And, its effect is kind of watered down, but now after consuming stuff that's not that I still enjoy, but it's not this does just stand out as it's not there's 48 steps above the rest of it. It is just high art in its purest form. It's just genius on the screen.
Yeah, no, there's so much to like about this movie. I think it's I couldn't agree more. I just everything we're going to talk about here is just the subjective stuff, where it's I didn't love the movie, but I think it's really good. I think it's objectively great. I think it's really good. It's the most I've ever connected with anime stylistically, especially compared to other stuff we've done on the show. And related to that, I don't know if it's if it's just an anime thing or if it's this movie or whatever. I don't think in this case it is an anime thing because, like I said, I did really like the style of this, but it's just something about it doesn't 100% connect is all it is, but I want to try and put my finger on it. I think for example, I think it's a little long, to be honest, I think it drags at times, but I do think there's critically nothing wrong with this movie. You know what I mean? It's if I'm putting on the not the binoculars, the eyeglass, there's nothing wrong with this movie, so I totally get why it's a classic in its medium, and I'm really excited to break it down because it deserves that. I think this movie is obviously stunning. I feel like this is where every animated film we ever do, we always start there because why not? It's the easiest place to start, and it's breathtaking. I've particularly found everything in the first act just awesome, as Ashitaka is riding just his wonderful Yakul across the friggin' landscapes and the rain and you see the mountains and the mist. It's amazing. It's awesome. And it's got that epic score, it was giving me major Lord of the Rings vibes, honestly, in the best way possible. I thought it just captures the scale and the scope of it so well. And I don't know, and considering nature, of course, and the environment and all that stuff is core to the film from a story perspective, which we'll talk about too. I think a vital part of having those topics in your film is actually capturing nature very well, and they nail it, dude. It's 10 out of 10 in how it nails and captures that on the screen, and especially considering, it's all hand animated for the most part anyway. So I thought the art design was awesome, but I want to know for you, Jane, how does this sort of compare to? You already mentioned Ghost in the Shell, Akira, these other things. Like, how does the art direction compare to those in your opinion? Because to me, like, it stood above any anime I've seen anyway.
It's interesting because like when you talk about like technique and stuff, like it, I guess like because it's so detailed, but like when you look at modern animation, there are quite often like kind of more visually dense, kind of type things.
Yeah.
But like so like into like it's like the detail type thing isn't where it's kind of it just is iconic in its design. I mean, it just I don't know. I just love it. Like it boasts such a massive range of colors, and I just think it's an impressive line work and character design. It's all just really great.
Absolutely, and no words can do justice to some of those shots, man. It's just I felt like I was watching something in live action in terms of not obviously like how it looks, but in terms of like how immersed I was in the scenery of it. And to your point, if I'm comparing it to something like Weathering with You, which was also a stunning film, but in a very different way, like you say, that film like freaking out about, how detailed the city is and, like all the raindrops and shit. But this is different. This is just art, and I think it's great for that reason. Are there any aspects of the art design that stand out to you, Fitzy? Any maybe, I don't know, character designs or anything else of that nature?
I think the color palettes in this and just the richness, like the texture, the I don't know the word, but like
I
it's
know
just
what you mean.
it's like it feels like a painting, like a Monet painting or something like that. By the seaside, or like just like the grass, and just very very soothing, very nice to look at, and it kind of like the score combines with it to make it like just like majestic kind of, instead of just like it's relaxing to look at, but it's also just has this like epic quality, especially with the score and the themes and stuff.
Absolutely. There's those like, we sort of everything when Ashitaka's traveling from his land, so it's sort of all pretty vague, which I'm very interested in too. But traveling from his far eastern land, sort of as he's coming up to the Iron Town or whatever it's called, the colony, and he sort of passes through the samurai battle on the way and all that stuff, and of course he encounters the injured workers or whatever. Everything there is just awesome. I just felt like I was so on board for this. I could just watch, like, if the movie was just him like riding somewhere and occasionally like encountering characters, I would have been so into that as well. So it's pretty sick. And speaking of Ashitaka and the characters, I love their designs. I don't know. I don't know if I'm articulate enough to describe how I felt about it compared to other anime, but I feel like their faces are they're quite expressive in a different way, if that makes sense. Or they're maybe more rounded or something. I don't know. They're compared to, I don't know, something like, what's the cheapest option I can pick? Like, I don't know, Naruto, right? Like, compared to that, these characters have a much more sort of childish feel. Not this movie isn't childish in any way, which I was shocked by, actually. But I don't know. Like, the character designs stand out to me too. Like, they feel unique and they don't just feel like, oh, it's an anime thing, So yeah, no, he's cool. He's cool. But no, forget it. Yakul is the best character of all time. Okay, when Ashitaka's injured and Yakul's there, like in the middle of the movie, he's like hanging out and he's unconscious and he won't leave his side. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're the bomb. You're gonna get Cinema Effect Awards. You're gonna win my character of the year, 100%, no doubt. And he's iconic. He just looks iconic. Like I've never seen this character in my life. Jaden's got a plushie of him, which is great. That proves how iconic he is. I love Yakul as well. I feel like I don't know how you guys feel about this. I feel like San is she's interesting. I also like her outfit. I feel like she's sort of underutilized in the movie a little bit, Like I don't really know. I don't really get a lot of her relationship with Ashitaka, you know? I feel like there's not a lot of, maybe this is what I'm just used to. I feel like there's not a lot of actual like conversations between them where I'm getting connection, you know? But I just think that stands out because she's one of the main characters, and I think the side characters sort of stand out more than her in a lot of ways, you know? I don't know. Do you feel that way at all, Fitzy? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. The romance is kind of. I think there is some stuff there, but yeah, I don't know. It's not. It's not like it's not a romance movie. You know, it's not like that's the center of the story. It's kind of a side thing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And it very much feels like that, in my opinion, which isn't a problem, but it just, like, it never felt like that was the thing for me to connect to in the movie at all. You know, like I was much more connected to the conflict between the town and the gods and the sides themselves and the factions themselves as opposed to, you know, the personal stuff, I guess. But there's so many unknowns, there's so many great side characters. Like, you've got Lady Eboshi, or is it right? That's her name? She's cool. And these, I mean, first, I actually probably should have just done this first. This is by far the best English voice acting I've heard in anime.
Oh, you
Not
fucking
even
watch it in
close.
English, god damn it. I didn't want to ask because I just, bro, you can't, you wouldn't like, dude, why? I don't, like, I
You're
know
one
it's
of these
such
generous people.
yeah, look, I know people are like, oh, you stop fucking gatekeeping or whatever. But like, you wouldn't watch Portrait of a Lady on Fire in English. You wouldn't watch fucking Parasite in English. So what's the difference here?
It's animated. I feel like that. I feel like it's a fair difference.
No, it's just nah. It's just nah. I don't know, man.
No,
It's just
I watched this in English, and the English voice acting in this is amazing, and I don't think there's any reason you should watch the Japanese if the English is great, you know, because usually when there's like if there's a dub that's English and it's really bad, like yeah, you're missing a lot of like the intonations of the, you know, the voice acting and shit like that in the dialogue. But with this, if it's a replica of, you know, the quality of the Japanese, I don't see any reason to go with the Japanese.
but it's
That's just me.
yeah. I guess that's just where I just don't see that perspective at all. It's you watch it in the language it was originally created in. That's just how it is for me. I don't know.
I get
I understand.
like, yeah, it's more authentic, I guess, but like the voice acting in this is really great for the English, and like if it wasn't, I would understand that. But
I'm gonna just future. I'm gonna watch all anime in English, Shane, just to so you know, just so it hurts your feelings a little bit. But I think the English voice acting, like I said, it's by far the best I've heard in anime. I think it's absolutely terrific, and it really helps connect with me connect with these characters. And I think it's probably, honestly, like outside of the visuals, it's probably the reason I think the movie is as good as it is. You know, because I didn't find it corny or anything in any way. I found it totally worked, and it was totally grounded in the context and the tone of the story, you know, which is terrific. And I feel like sometimes that's, in my experience, sort of lost in translation in English. I'm sure most people agree with that.
Yeah, I wonder fucking why.
Dubs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. But Jane, maybe you could tell me about how good the Japanese voice acting was. But you wouldn't know, would you?
No, I wouldn't know. Yeah, actually, you know, I will tell you that the voice of the wolf of the mother, you know, more it's although it's, you know, canonically a female, is voiced by a male, because in Japanese law all wolves have like a male persona or some shit like that. But then in the English dub, it's voiced by a female. So there you go. You are losing out.
Okay, I'm losing out on some of the authenticity there of the character. Okay, all right, yeah. That's a fair point. I can't really argue with that. Just all the animals, they all stand out. They're all great. The friggin' boars, that one.
the ball god. Oh wait, no, it's not a ball god. Like the ball leader or whatever.
Is he not a god? Isn't he a god?
Yeah,
the white dude?
He is.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he was neat. The scene where he was taken over by the curse was gross in the best way possible. It was very impactful, I thought.
And actually, well, you wouldn't know because you watch in fucking English, but the Japanese voice of the apes, like when they after Ashitaka leaves the town with carrying San, when they interact with the apes, it's so brilliant. They're so deep and guttural in their voice, and like it's really like it's kind of scary.
God damn. That's a great point, because the apes are probably my least favorite ones, you know, of the sort of side ancillary, factions that sort of just turn up. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I was mainly surprised, I guess, by how mature this movie was. I was not expecting it. It feels, like I said, the art style is very playful, which is great. But then I've quite quickly witnessed characters getting their arms and heads cut off, So that was surprising, to be honest. Well, were you surprised about it the first time you watched it, Jaden, or is this just new for me?
No, I was.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think before this, the only Ghibli film I saw was Ghibli. Actually, I searched up, it's Ghibli.
Okay.
But it's there's a few ways. But yeah, I think the only one I saw prior to this was My Neighbor Totoro. So then going to this, it was very surprising because while that has its own kind of darkness to it in like the theme, in like the mother's illness and stuff like that, this is just a maturity type thing where it is just aimed at an older audience, but still for kids. I think it's I think it's undeniable. There's so many people that did grow up with this, and like the English language version as well, because it was distributed by Disney in America and shit like that. So like a lot of people have connected with this as kids as well. But yeah, it's definitely a bit more mature.
And is it still that way compared to other Ghibli movies? Like, this made me interested. I mean, I was always interested, but like this made me sort of feel like in the near future I'm going to check out Spirited Away and these other movies. Like, is this even more mature than those?
In terms of like just like on-screen violence, it is than the majority of them. In terms of like just thematic darkness and maturity, it's got nothing on Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
okay.
It's probably of their catalog. It's definitely one of the darker ones.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's tons of stuff that would have scared me as a kid. I think there's horrifying elements to this. Like every time the friggin' spaghetti demon turns up and he starts taking over people, it's pretty freaking horror. Like, dude, that shit's horrifying, But yeah, like I said with the boar, and every time that happens, Eboshi straight up shot the head of the spirit off. Like Jesus Christ. So that was nuts. And there's just dead bodies everywhere. There's just corpses. You know what I mean? They're pretty graphic in that sense. And who can forget, of course, the most insane scene where the boars just explode, like where they go flying in the air after they throw grenades at boars in this movie, and that's pretty wild, to be honest with you. But it's also cool because like thematically, you got this like technological advancing power, literally throwing grenades at nature, which is pretty messed up, but it works. It's cool. I like it. I want to know how you respond to the film thematically, Fitzy. I think it's got a lot to say. I think it's pretty simple. I don't think it takes a genius to figure this shit out, but I think it's neat though, and I think the way in which it presents everything it's got to say about preserving nature and and it's not just like environment good. You know what I mean? Like I think it has a lot to say about the impact humans have on the purity of sort of wildlife and the environment, and well-trodden themes, but I think it's done really well and backed up by the animation in a way where it feels like the whole vision felt so cohesive. It's not like someone was writing the script and it's like, we want to make it about the environment, and then the animators just went off and, sort of tried to do their own thing. Like, it really felt like, especially with the ending, which I really liked, how beautiful like it all looks, and when the flowers start rising from the ground and stuff. That just was a great example of having a visual moment that is impactful and also completely backs up the film's message at the same time, and that it all comes together to really work, I think. But was there any, I don't know, how do you respond to that, Fitzy? Are you in agreement with me? Did you go and, start recycling shit right afterwards,
No, I didn't start recycling stuff. I think we have a recycling bin though.
Everyone has a recycling bin. What?
Yeah, I think we have the yellow bin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, do you guys have that food bin, by the way? Like,
which one's that?
Like we have like this food scraps bin now. Like, put like,
what color lid is that?
Oh, it's just a little white thing. We have it like in a sink.
Okay, all right. No. Sorry, I understand. No, we don't have a food bin. Do you have a food bin, Jaden?
No, just no. No, I guess
I
they're
feel.
steps ahead of
Well,
us.
it's
Oh,
not
yeah,
really.
yeah.
It's like things that touch for like napkins as well and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
but then does that just go into the recycling bin anyway?
I think
Where
it's
does
like a
that go?
different type of recycling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah, you really are
what
ahead
are
of
we,
us.
what are we
Yeah,
talking about?
the environment and the film thematically.
Oh yeah, I like how the film, like how like the film's about like environmentalism and stuff, but like Lady Eboshi, I think it handles her character really well. Like she's not
It's a great point.
she's not an evil character. I guess she's very, she cares for the people of Irontown. I think just those scenes where Ashitaka goes to talk to Lady Eboshi and we get the whole 360 view of Irontown, just how everyone lives there and how that community survives and stuff. It's like it's really great. It's like that old tour is really great, and like it makes you connect with Irontown in a way you might not have. Yeah, like later on, Irontown's getting attacked, and like I really wanted, the message to be sent to her to to go back or whatever, and not be led by these other guys. Which like everyone has their own interests and stuff, so it's really handles that really well, I guess.
It's really interesting because like I always perceived her as quite a good character because she's taken these sex workers and she's given them new jobs and they're equal to the men and she takes care of these lepers. But then like I was reading this thing where like these like I don't know film analysts or whatever where they were saying like it reinforced like her using these people is just her like reinforcing her as a bad character because she's abusing like the needy of like she's exploiting the lepers and she's exploiting, the women in need and shit like that. And like, it's just kind of painting her as, a more kind of capitalistic kind of like driven woman, like, just trying to get her own benefit. But like, I never saw that as that. So it's interesting that you say that because like, that's the way I saw it, Liam. And then, I don't know. I didn't think there was two ways to looking at that, but apparently there is.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting. I'm with you guys. I looked at it. I think she's a really cool character. I just the film has no villain, which is great. It's just a clashing of philosophies. And to Fitzy's point, like I guess in terms of what the film's saying, Irontown are the antagonists, right? They are the ones having conflict with the nature and the gods and the beautiful boars and the animals and stuff, right? But I mean, Finchie's right. I didn't. I liked all the people in Irontown. I thought there were memorable side characters there, like the ex prostitutes there were memorable characters. The main guard for Eboshi, the bitch guy, he was a memorable character,
Mm.
and I cared about all of them. And I love that scene where Ashitaka, like where he rescues San from the town, and he jumps down, and it has a very samurai feel to it, but I felt great in that entire scene. I felt a lot of dread for the characters. I felt like at that point, because Ashitaka's shot there, I felt like I didn't think he was actually going to die, but I was like, dude, like this movie, like anything could happen in this movie. I felt very immersed in that moment, and I cared about all those other side characters in the town, and I feel like they all react to what's happening very realistically in terms of they at all times, like obviously they're trying to protect their town. They're opposed to Ashitaka at that point because he's like trying to save San. But they all like there's that little moment where the guards let him out of the town because they know what he did for them in terms of he saved those other people as well. And I just thought that all it all made a lot of sense and it was all very rewarding as a viewer. I thought I was getting a lot out of like the relationships. Nothing felt cartoony or like these people are behaving this way because it's a movie. I felt everyone's behavior was on point, and I really enjoyed that. And it just made everyone more likable, which is great.
So the guy that wants the head, he's bringing that to like some lord or like the emperor or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
So like, why does he want that? Is that like for the same reasons as Eboshi to like get resources or something?
We're not really told, but like Eboshi kind of jokes that she does, like with Jiko, she's like the emperor doesn't believe that it'll grant him eternal life or something like that. So like we're never told, but like we can kind of assume it's I don't know, some kind of mythic type hope, like we want like some kind of healing properties that he hopes it delivers like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember him saying that. Yeah.
Okay. See, that makes sense. I remember about half of that, I think, but I think maybe that's, I don't know, because for me, like the second act drags for me. Everything after when he's sort of revived in the, I don't know, the spirit lake or whatever it is. I like the little dudes with the shaky heads. They're cool. But so sort of everything from there building to then the actual final confrontations, I feel is pretty slow, and I feel like that's where a lot of that stuff is. But because it's never like, and I appreciate the movie doesn't go out and explain these things. I appreciate the subtlety of it in a way, but at the same time, maybe I would have been more invested if I like clearly understood the character's motivations a bit better. So that's sort of just a conflicting thing. But I sort of respect them sticking by their guns on that, I guess. Because I mean, this movie it's 2 hours and 15 minutes long, which is, I believe, the fourth longest animated movie of all time.
I think that trivia is outdated.
A bit outdated. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nonetheless, though, it is long in any animated sense. At the same time, it also adds a bit of grandeur to it. Like it makes me feel like I'm watching like a Lord of the Rings extended cut, even though it's obviously like 2 hours shorter. But because it's in anime, it makes it feel relatively like it's longer.
In the second act, especially, I feel like there's a lot of just like conversations or like people interacting, like parties that didn't necessarily have to interacting, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
And it just kind of expands the, I don't know, this world or whatever it is. This, I don't know, this country world. This place. So
I think in this film, the viewer is really like, I think you can sympathize with most characters, but I think the only one we're really meant to connect with is Ashitaka. I feel like he's very much the viewer. Because like, he's told at the beginning, go here and judge with unclouded eyes and whatever. And I feel like that's what the movie is doing, is presenting to us two sides of the conflict, and it's just presenting all the facts. And that kind of second act is where he is just gathering information and just learning of why they need this, but then also this. And like, it's very balanced in its view. And ultimately, it does say we need to protect the forest more, but like, it recognizes the importance of, progress. That's why he ends up, helping in town at the end of the film. But then he says, I will visit you, I will, and like, it's kind of respectful thing. And
no, I think that's spot on. Very well said. Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't know, I guess maybe I just didn't find that aspect of it quite as engaging as I wanted to, but that's no doubt exactly what happens, because we get a lot of those, like you guys said, a lot of those conversations, like all the conversations with the wolves happen there. There's a lot of those, and I guess it does take a lot of time to build out in that second act. But I'm very interested in it. I think it's really cool, and I think it's neat that it only exists in this 2 hour and 15-minute film, and it'll probably never exist outside of it. I don't know, unless there's like a spin-off show or something that exists. Probably not.
And like, we know other parts, like other huge parts exist that we haven't seen as well. So it makes it feel a lot bigger. Like the whole Lord Asano or like the Emperor or whatever. Like, that's like a whole huge thing that we don't see. So it feels really big.
It absolutely does. It creates a lot of mystique. I actually thought, I mean, I like everything at the start, and this weird, like, again, vague but interesting, captured my interest of like this Eastern tribe that's outcast for, I don't believe we know why, and they're out there, and Ashitaka's banished from their place. I think that's all. I'm sitting there on the screen going like, why is any of this happening? I don't know, but it's cool. I don't know why their customs are like this, but it's cool.
It was like, this is the furthest back that they've set a film. I like Miyazaki set a film, and like, it's set 15th century, and like, he says that he chose this period because it's the kind of chaos and confusion kind of reflected 1997, and I think it still reflects today, and that's why it's still so well accepted today. And like, it's like, this is a feudal Japan, but it's pre like the class system that came in of emperor, shogun, samurai, peasant, merchants, whatever. So like, it's still this transitional period, and like, I think so like, this kind of big world that we only hear moments about, and adds to that kind of confusion. And like, but it's I think I think that's the intended effect of be a little bit lost, but then kind of still be within the story.
That's very true. I don't know. Is why it's so interesting. I think I was going to go somewhere else with that, and I lost it. Maybe were you there with me, Fizzy?
Well, like, because there's not as recognizable a class system, I guess. Like, it feels a bit different.
Yes, yeah. And then from that, sorry, I was yes, absolutely. But then the fact that there's these other elements too of like I've mentioned the lovely grenades, but there's obviously technology that far exceeds that time. There's guns in this movie. There's other industrial elements and sort of visual ideas presented in the town.
Does it exceed that time?
Yeah, right.
When like guns are modern, kind of like rifles are rather modern, but like the kind of like primitive way,
like the flip-lock pistols.
Yeah, let me have a quick search and I'll get back to you.
No, do have a look. I am interested in that, but I think regardless though, it is nonetheless this clash in terms of you've got samurai in this movie. You've got guns, and then you've got. I think Irontown sort of gives me an industrial sort of vibe that exceeds the other regions presented in the movie. You know what I mean? Have you got to answer the James?
Yeah, the Portuguese brought him in 1543, which is like right where like this kind of just after this film set. It kind of is blending it a bit, I guess. But yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
But like,
I guess it's more of a stylistic clash then. Yeah, sorry, go for it.
But yeah, like the fact that you have like the industrial, like setting of Irontown with the guns and stuff, and with the the mystical elements, like the boar gods and like the the big creature, who's the main,
the forest spirit.
The forest
Isn't
spirit.
that what it's called?
Yeah, like stuff like that colliding, and like just like the gun being able to kill the forest spirit, which is kind of like a weird.
That was weird, yeah.
Weird visual, I guess, a weird thing,
And then they carry the head around, yeah. What else we got here? What trivia have we got here? Oh, I should have said this earlier, but director Miyazaki personally corrected or redrew more than 80,000 of the film's 144,000 animation cells. His pen touched over half of this movie. Literally, like half of every frame. So that's pretty damn impressive.
That's insane.
It's insane. And it shows, obviously, if anyone had any doubt of his talent, no one does. But if you did, for some reason.
He started working on this in like the 70s, like not the film directly, but like he kind of had this idea of like this girl living in the forest with like a monster or something like that. And like parts of it kind of seeped into his other products. So like how much like this was like a 20-year process, and I wonder how much of that was actually spent making the actual movie. Because so is it 24 frames a second? Is that what they would have animated? Surely, or would it be more?
I would have thought it'd be less.
Less.
But I'm not. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I believe some standard
18.
Like 18. Yeah.
Could be 18.
Yeah. Could be 18.
And to think like this is all done on like the plastic cells and like painted, like that's
right.
Ridiculous.
I believe it was the last film to use those plastic celluloids, if I'm not mistaken. When the English dubbed version of the film was screamed at some film festival, it's called TIFF. Do we know what film festival that is? TIFF.
Toronto International.
Very good. Thank you very much. Miyazaki introduced his film to the audience and said, "With Princess Mononoke, I intentionally threw out all the rules of entertaining movie making, which is why it will take some time for true evaluation of this film to emerge. I hope you all enjoy all of this ridiculously long 2 hours and 13 minutes. So he very much had self-awareness of how long it was. But, I mean, that makes me like it more, to be honest. He knew how audiences would respond at that time, especially, and in my case, because I'm still living in the 90s, how I would respond. But very intentional, which I very much appreciate. I think that's a great quote. Like I mentioned, not being fully connecting with Ashitaka and San's relationship, but I actually like the ending in terms of them. They clearly have some form of bond or connection, but I guess this also goes back to Miyazaki's quote of throwing out traditional movie making tropes and stuff, in the sense of I like that they sort of bond at the end but choose to live apart, you know? I thought that was neat. And it sort of adds to the solitary nature of Ashitaka as a character. And it also just adds a little bit of a wrinkle that, you know, it makes sense that she can't forgive humans so easily, you know, which makes obviously a ton of sense. Makes all the sense in the world, considering what she went through and stuff. But just a cool little detail that I appreciate, because I feel like it would have been so easy, because this is literally in the last 1 minute of the movie. It would have been so easy for them to embrace, and it'd be like, there you go, that's the end. That's a cool little thing I liked a lot.
I already commented on it back in Onward episode, you know, who knows fucking what.
Wow, episode 9 or 8 or something.
About like how in animation, you know, there's such a direct control over the product, and like, you know, you spoke about it now with, you know, how Miyazaki did 80,000 of the 144,000 sales and stuff. But like, you know, he really does touch every aspect of the production, because like even I think there's two original songs that were written for the film, like with lyrics. He wrote those lyrics, and like he just does have such a personal connection with the films, and like I think like I'm not sure if it's in this trivia or somewhere else, but like he's spoken about like how he doesn't always create and direct with a script. Sometimes it is just storyboards and cells, and sometimes there is just nothing, and they just keep on going. And like because of that, he just does have his fingers in every aspect of the film, you know. And I think it is truly masterful. And like when you talk about master craftsmen of the trade, I really think it's like he has to be up there with how consistently he does it. I mean, it's just it is quite amazing.
Absolutely. He's past 80 years old, am I not? I believe. And his son directs films now, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
He's done a few.
I don't know if are they notable films? Are they?
I think they're kind of semi. Yeah. Like they're kind of there, you know.
But not Ghibli films.
He might have one or two with the studio.
Okay.
Isn't he retired now? Wasn't The Wind Rises supposed to be his last?
He keeps on coming out of retirement, doesn't he? Because like this was meant to be his last film, and then he came back for Spirited Away, and then he came back for another one and another one, you know. So like, but I think he has. Is he directing the new one this year, or is he just part of it? Oh no, he is. So he's the director of another one called How Do You Live coming out. It's like he's not retired. He keeps on saying he's going to retire, but he doesn't. He's a fucking liar.
He's the Sakurai of movie making, believe it or not.
Yeah, his son's his son's done quite a few with Ghibli, and he's got the new one coming out this year as well. Yeah.
There you go, the Miyazaki clan just kicking ass over there. Andy wrote in a review for Princess Mononoke. God damn it. And he said, 9 out of 10. I genuinely loved it. First cinema effect movie that I've honestly loved in ages. Never understood why I always made fun of anime and people watching it previously. Maybe I was making fun of people who are into hentai. That's a whole other thing. And my apologies for bringing it up. Hashtag hentai king.
You want to know a funny fact about hentai?
Please. Yes, I would love to know.
A lot of like mainstream and famous like anime like artists often get their start in hentai because there's just more of it being produced and it's easy to get into. So like quite often, you know, they'll have rather nice animation in those kind of things. And then they'll kind of like these animes will get segued into mainstream anime films. Kind of the same way that at Disney, a lot of furry artists get a hide there because, you know, they just draw fucking, you know,
of course,
like foxes and shit for a living. So then, like, Disney just hires them and shit like that. It's, yeah.
Who else were they going to hire for Monsters University when they made that?
Exactly.
Makes a ton of sense. Andy continues, another miraculous Miyazaki production. Something tells me Zach must have butchered his pronouncing his entire name already. Not his entire name, Andy. I can say Miyazaki fine, thank you. But maybe the first part. If Andy can say Hayao. It's probably Hayao. That sounds right.
No, I Hayao. Yeah.
Oh, it's Hayao Miyazaki. Cool. All right. Well, I can say
less of a high is high. It's
so it's like less. Okay. Hey.
Because Hayao. Yeah, it's
Hayao. I'll never get there.
We talked about how good the animation was, but just more specifically, I want to say like the action scenes in this are really
great,
amazing. Cool. Like they'll kind of like as I was saying, the movie is very focused on conversations, so the action scenes are like lesser, but like the fight between San and Lady Boshi, like that whole sequence is just like amazing. The whole that Irontown thing, and like later on with like just actually our introduction to Eboshi when the wolves are like running up to her and she like shoots the one, like the big wolf or whatever. Like that's really incredible. And just like I don't know, all the scenes with the fire are really awesome. Like that's like my favorite animation, I'd say, other than the Ashitaka, on his going across the land, and the main theme as well is really just incredible. Just when those things combine. But
Revisiting this made me appreciate the score a lot more, and how like it has this really like the opening like track is just very much an epic kind of thing, and strives for that tone and achieves it. But then it also has like this kind of bit more, I don't know, digital vibes, kind of in the more menacing kind of moments where it kind of, I don't know, it kind of goes a bit more, I don't know, when they're
modern,
like, yeah. It's really great.
That's a great call, Fitzy. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Very good. Let's get to our final verdicts for Princess Mononoke. Jaden.
Big fat 10.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think that's the third 10 I've chucked out in the show. It's moved up a step from the 9 that I gave, and I think it is kind of that effect that I spoke about at the start of, I was consuming with like a lot of grades, and then, and so now revisiting it, it's definitely, I don't know, just amazing.
Absolutely. Fitzy.
9 out of 10. I think it's incredible, and just one of my favorite animated films. So yeah,
I'll give it a 7, and it reminds me a lot of, considering I've basically done nothing but praise this movie pretty much. This reminds me a lot of strangely films that have got nothing in common other than this. The Godfather Part 2, where it's a movie I really like. I can't really fault, but it just doesn't 100% vibe with me for whatever reason. But it's the same with that movie. Is that I feel like on rewatches has potential, has great potential to go above and beyond the 7. But for now, I'll give it a 7. Jaden, how scared were you coming into this that I was going to trash this movie?
I was pretty scared until I saw that he liked Henry's view, and like I was like, he could be liking it because it's just our mate. But then I was like, oh no, I trust him to have liked it somewhat.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I like you analysed everything there to reach a conclusion before jumping on today. That's good. All right, let's get into news chat. Chris Pratt is playing Garfield in a new Sony animated film. Chris Pratt, all the, as Tane pointed out before, all the memes aside, Chris Pratt is doing Mario, he's doing Garfield. Fitzy, what do you expect him to really bring, artistically to the character of Garfield? Do you expect him to be able to properly, dig deep and find that emotion for lasagna?
So Chris Pratt's Guardians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, he's Chris's next star. Okay, yeah, I understand. That is Star-Lord.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's already a CGI Garfield, right?
Yeah, who voiced that original one? Because I can't remember it. Like in the 2006 or whatever it is.
Oh, I see what you guys are saying. No, that's a live action movie though, right? With the CG Garfield, isn't it?
Yeah. Is this going to be like a completely kind of?
I believe it's a Sony animated film. Like I believe it's like the Mitchells versus the Machines, our favorite film, people. If I'm not mistaken.
I just saw that Bill Murray voiced the 2006 one. I was like, now I can't get that out of my head.
I didn't know that. That's great. Oh, that movie so sucks. I mean, there's not much else to say other than it's funny. I don't really know. Like, it's not a Mario thing where I'm sitting here wondering, what's Chris Pratt going to bring to the role of Mario? What voice is he going to do? Because I don't give a shit about Garfield. He can do whatever he wants. I don't give a crap. Like, Chris Pratt can just talk to himself. I don't care. But it's also the interesting thing of, like, I didn't know this movie was happening. And I didn't know Garfield was, like, a huge, highly desired franchise that Sony was can't wait to bank on. Like, do people care about Garfield?
He's kind of remained relevant through like memes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like, yeah.
I didn't really know that, but that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, well, so people who like memes and TikTok are going to go and see Garfield. So it's basically June. Believe it or not. All right. Robert Downey Jr. and Matt Damon have both been cast in Christopher Nolan's upcoming Oppenheimer film, which we've discussed quite a few times already, and I assume we'll probably discuss 50 more times in the next 5 years, which is very interesting. I was not expecting this news. Right, like, the return of Matt Damon is awesome. Matt Damon being a surprise appearance in Interstellar is still sort of one of my. It's meta, of course. It's not a literal like story moment in the film or anything, but it's sort of one of my favorite Nolan moments. You know what I mean, in terms of like the cinema experience of it. It's like Matt Damon's in this movie, so it's cool to see the return of that. And I never thought I'd see RDJ in a Nolan movie, but I'm very interested by the possibilities of that. Do you have any other thoughts, Jaden?
I don't know. Like Junior, just like Robert Downey Jr. just seems like such a character actor, and like kind of like Iron Man, Sherlock, the person who plays in Tropic Thunder. So yeah, exactly. So like it'd be interesting to see like how his performance in this will be. It's hard to kind of like I know he's done serious roles, the judge and whatnot, but like I'm curious to see what this will be like.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, we've seen him do very little other than Iron Man or these more humorous characters for many years, so that's true. How do you feel, Fitzy? And do you have a? Are you excited for one more than the other? I don't know.
Well, I also saw they were playing like lieutenants or commanders, weren't they? Like people in the military.
Oh, I didn't know that was known. Okay, that's news to me. That's cool.
I think, but like,
That's interesting.
yeah, like I don't see them there, but also I also don't see Matt Damon as like a national, but he was a national in 2 movies and was really good in both of them. So like,
I don't see Matt Damon as a French knight personally, but he killed that. So
yeah, I don't know who I'm more excited for. No, Matt Damon, I guess. Yeah.
the only other thing I'd have to add is that I think we're all big fans of Cillian Murphy on the show, and I feel like he's the lead in this film, and I think we talked about it in our A Quiet Place Part 2 review, if I'm not mistaken, that, everyone knows Cillian Murphy. Everyone can recognize Cillian Murphy, I think. But he's not, I don't think he's a movie star, necessarily. And I think if you're involved, if he's the lead of a cast that also has Robert Downey Jr. and Matt Damon in it, I think that sort of could potentially be great for him, So, and he's going to kill it either way in the movie, you know what I mean? That's regardless of anything else. So, I just anything to get Cillian Murphy more attention is great in my opinion. So we had the trailer for Morbius, which only I watched. So well, yeah, I don't know. It was fine. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was kind of sucked, but it was. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like Vulture's in it again. Michael Keaton's there again, and it's like they're doing this whole we're in the MCU sort of thing, and it's like no, just don't, and Venom's in the trailer and stuff. Well, not Venom, but like Venom's referenced in the trailer. And it's like, all right, like this movie looks like Venom, but not Venom, So whatever. Jared Leto is Venom, pretty much. And all right, so who cares? Let's go to the Book of Boba Fett trailer. Fizzy, I want to get your thoughts on this particular trailer. I'm glad you watched it. That's for sure.
I don't know. It was fine. I don't know. I didn't watch season 2 of Mandalorian, so yeah, I don't know if I watched this, but yeah, I'm not really excited for it, I guess. So.
I can almost guarantee that the Mandalorian season 2 is going to be better than this, but I can almost guarantee it. What about you, Jaden?
Yeah, I think kind of same lines of it. It looks like a stylish product. I've never kind of had a affinity for Boba Fett the way that most of the fan base seems to have, nor with Tamura Morrison. I think, I'm not sure if it's expressed on the show, but I think he's a rather average actor, especially in what we've seen in The Mandalorian. I hate that I'll watch it and I want to say I won't watch it, but it's like every time I say I'm not going to watch something because it's fucking Star Wars, it's a lie. I will watch it and I hate myself for it, but I'll watch it.
I have no shame that I'll watch it, but I do agree that the trailer wasn't overly impressive by any means. But I mean, you're absolutely right. I don't particularly have an affinity for Boba Fett either. I think the only reason people have affinity for Boba Fett, I mean, I guess prior to 2020, was the aesthetic, right? But um, I appreciate at the very least that they're going sort of above and beyond to make Boba Fett a character, like an actual character that you can care about if you want. You know what I mean? As opposed to like, I don't think in this after Mando season 2, and especially after this, I don't think there's much reason to ask the question anymore. Why do people care about Boba Fett? Whereas before, I think there was very, very valid reason to ask the question. You know, I think we actually have valid reasons to like him now, and I appreciate they go above and beyond in Ludwig Göransson composing the score and giving him a killer theme song in Mandalorian season 2, and that banging out in the trailer again is terrific. I love that. So anything that Ludwig does is gold. And the only other nothing in this trailer blew me away by any means. But the reason I'm sort of, I guess, optimistic in how little we saw is the fact that all the Mandalorian season 2 trailers only showed little clips from episode up to episode 3. So I very much believe that everything we saw here is from the first 2 episodes of the show, So, and that probably means that they're not going to show anything too exciting, but I remain optimistic that the show itself will be much more exciting than this trailer once we understand what's sort of happening better,
Yeah, this is just a story I would have rather do with characters we don't know. Like this Star Wars underworld is something that is very interesting. The glimpses we get in like Rebels and Clone Wars are really cool. So like, had it been with like a roster of characters we don't know, and then just an episode of Boba Fett or something like that, like the way that Mandalore did it, I think it would have been more engaging product.
Yeah, that's true, especially if it were probably animated. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been neat too. Yeah. But in saying that, I think the show is probably going to have a lot of ties to Clone Wars and Rebels in terms of like the different factions and stuff. I would not be surprised at all if we
Well,
get
yeah,
a fair bit of
didn't
that.
we see like those like, wasn't there like a meeting of the gangsters, and wasn't there like the pikes and shit? Like,
Yeah, I didn't. Was there an actual pike there? I didn't notice that.
Well, I was trying to figure out if that was just like like an IRL like adaptation of like the costumes that we've seen, and like they had to take it down a bit, or was that just like a new person? I was trying to figure
Oh,
out.
no, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure, but regardless, I would not be surprised to see pikes. And the Black Sun and all these cool things that we get probably done much better in the animated shows. So I'm excited for that. That's for sure. Fitzy, just watch The Mandalorian season 2 and don't watch this. There you go. Just do that.
What's so good about Mandalorian season 2? What should I?
Because it actually from start to finish builds an engaging story with likable characters.
Is that the?
Well, start to finish is a bit of a.
I 100% argue start to finish on season 2.
That's with the Baby Yoda thing, right? He has to like take it somewhere.
He has to take Baby Yoda to a Jedi. That is the mission. And I just think it did a much better job. I think the entire show is great. I love season 1 too because it's Star Wars. But I think there's no doubt that the middle of season 1 like just meanders. And I appreciate season 2 completely 100%. From the first minute, you understand the objective, and it builds all the way to the objective. And I think it's really well done in that sense. Definitely. Do you like it better than season 1, Jade?
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm pretty sure I expressed on the show like I didn't care for it, and then I don't think I didn't even care for it for the first 3 episodes or things like that. But then I think once a certain person showed up,
it escalates.
Yeah, bang.
It escalates. Yeah, no doubt. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Fitzy, what have you been watching?
I've been watching a show that I know you've seen, Zach. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm getting there. Only Murders in the Building, which I also saw like advertised on the Disney, the top page or whatever. Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty fun. It's like pretty light-hearted, murder mystery thing. But like it's a comedy, and the 3 central Characters have like really great performers. I guess have really great chemistry. Selena Gomez and
The
what's
two
it?
Martins,
Martin. Yeah, Martin
Steve
and
Martin
Martin.
and Martin Short. Yeah.
And like it's kind of like every episode you kind of go into a different suspect and they kind of like become more a part of the group, kind of, if they're not suspected anymore. And I don't know, it's a good show. I'm up to that, like the interesting episode where they do that. I haven't seen a TV show like have this thing where they like. It's not a spoiler, right? If I just say it, like
I don't know what you're gonna say. I don't know. I feel
like
like I should, but
the 7th episode.
Zach can always edit it out.
oh, is that
Yeah. Wait,
cool? Yeah,
shows that
got it.
perspective.
I mean, that show respects podcasts just as much as I do, so that's why I respect that
yeah.
show. You know, I found though. I mean, it's not a indication of anything to come, Fitzy, just because I felt this way when I was up to your point anyway, and I still feel that way. But I just found like in that show, like I really enjoyed the show, but I just sort of found like I was much more entertained by like the character dynamics and their quips and their dumb, like there's so many like dumb little lines that crack me up, like much more than the actual mystery itself.
Yeah, like their interactions are the strong point of the show.
Yeah,
and like the mystery, because like you don't care about this guy who died. Is one of the main problems.
No,
yeah, because like that's part of the point. Like they're kind of telling you not to care, or they're like saying he's a dick or whatever. So it's kind of weird. That's true.
But I can look past that when like the episodes are short, and I'm definitely like I'm very entertained by the writing.
Yeah, and like the Martin character, like his whole subplot and stuff, like with his like the bassoonist and stuff, that's like very fun. And,
yeah. Well, I'm glad you're watching that. I watched The Last Duel in the cinema.
Did you watch it by yourself?
I did not watch it by myself, although there were a grand total of 4 other people in the cinema. So not a lot of other people, I feel like just few enough people where I could have gotten away with yelling at the screen, I would definitely never do that, by the way. But anyway, I don't want to speak on it too long, just in fear of being redundant for what Fitzy said last week, but I totally agree with everything he said last week, and I think it's a very, very good movie. I think it's going to be quite high on my list this year, and I don't know, just everything Fitzy said. The only thing I would add from last week, everyone go and listen to what Fitzy said last week, but the only thing I would add to it is that I think the film, without spoiling anything, I think the film, he spoke about the structure and I totally agree, but beyond that, I think the film's very clever in its casting as well and how it uses its big stars. For those who aren't aware, Adam Driver, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon are the lead male roles in the film. And I think it's very clever how it sort of shoves that in your face and makes and sort of disguises the real story by using the fact that it knows it has huge actors. You know what I mean? I think it's sort of meta and clever in doing that. You know what I mean? And it sort of backs up what the film's actually about in thematically by using its casting. I think it's quite interesting, I think. But yeah, it's a great movie, I think.
Now, Liam, I want you to choose something that I watched this week.
Oh, I get to choose. Oh, I want to hear about Training Day.
Training Day? God, Training Day. Yeah, it's good. It's not what I was expecting at all, because especially the way it goes, and it's Zach, you've watched it, right? But Liam, have you watched it?
Yeah.
You've both watched it. Okay, yeah, cool.
We've all seen it.
All right,
We're
great.
all wide open book here.
Yeah, I don't know. I was really into it, and then up until like it starts actually telling you the story that it wants to tell, because that's not the path I was expecting. It's not the path I wanted to go down, and it ultimately ended in a satisfying way in terms of like, in terms of just overall, but like it's just disappointing for me personally because that wasn't what I wanted to see. But like from a storytelling perspective, it's satisfying, I guess. I think Ethan Hawke's great in it. So is is that Denzel?
Denzel.
It is Denzel. I was scared to say in case I was wrong.
Yeah, read into that.
Yeah, I think they're both great. I don't know. It just wasn't what I was like. It's such a talked about movie. It seems like it's got such a massive hold on pop culture sometimes with, how many times it's referenced in other products that like I was just expecting a different experience. And I understand why it's referenced but like, it's just not completely for me, I guess. But yeah, no, it's still good.
King Kong ain't got shit on him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, oh, that's where that comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I feel the same way as you. I like the movie, but, I don't really think of it often, Are you, I don't know what you think of it, Fitzy. Are you sort of with us? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't remember much about it, honestly, like the last half, but...
That's true, yeah. I feel like the first half's pretty memorable. Like, everything in that...
Yeah.
Like, when they're driving around the city in the first day and, like, going to different encounters and Denzel's, like, giving his sort of imparting his wisdom.
Yeah. You learn
that's
more
all good
about
stuff.
Denzel in the first half, it seems like. Right? And then the second half is more like... just craziness, right?
Yeah, it feels like it feels like it derails itself a bit too much, I think there's a level to it where you're like, all right, I can buy into that, but then like by the time it comes full circle and you reach the end, I'm like, it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel that. That's true. Now we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is your favourite Studio Ghibli movie? Andy said The Witcher would probably have to be Andrew's. He's doing this Andrew thing. Favourite Studio Ghibli film. Kind of wish the question of the week was Disney or Studio Ghibli. Is Andy is Andy trying to wish this into existence? Like, is this the goal of the question? Of his answer? Does he want a Witcher's Ghibli thing?
Yeah, well, I was trying to think like what, and like I was like, Kiki's delivery service is about a witch, and like,
oh, it's about a
witch. I was like, is he thinking about? I was like, has he seen that though, or like, is he just just talking about The Witcher?
I feel dumb. I feel like this joke's going over my head.
Yeah.
I don't know. Luke said, I've only seen 2 Ghibli films, Spirited Away and Ponyo. I didn't even watch all of Spirited Away as I got scared when they turned into pigs, and all I remember from Ponyo was an insufferable anime child yelling Ponyo for an hour and a half. I would not recommend. Why are these movies any good? I don't get it. Fitzy, on a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate is this description of Ponyo?
I haven't seen Ponyo, actually.
Jaden?
I haven't seen Ponyo.
God damn it. Oh, well. I was looking forward to you going like, oh yeah, it's like 7 out of 10 accurate. I guess he sort of does yell Ponyo for 45 minutes. But I've got no idea. Anyways, I've seen Totoro in this movie. I guess I like this movie a bit more maybe, but I also like Totoro. I probably need to rewatch Totoro. Oh, actually, that's not true. I just need to watch more Ghibli movies. I don't need to rewatch Totoro. So I just get myself out of the way. Jaden and Fitzy are going to have way more compelling answers. So I'll start with Fitzy.
First of all, I haven't seen many Ghibli films, and also I feel like I would appreciate Spirited Away more if I rewatched it. So I don't want to say this is like the best one, or I think it'll remain, but for now it is my answer.
What about you, Trudge? So Trudge?
Don't. No. I thought we've already discussed that. We don't use that. It's a hard question because all their works are so set. Like they're very like they're just seminal pieces in the genre and just in filmmaking in general. It is like quite hard to pick one, and despite what I said today about Mononoke, I think for the sake of just saying something else, I will say that The Cat Returns is underappreciated. Something I talked about last year. It's just so genuinely one of the funniest films I've seen. Yeah, I guess I'll land there. Yeah, but like all their works are just fantastic, and like they're all on Netflix. I'm guilty of not having watched a lot of them. I've only seen like 8 or so or something like that. So like I've still got my watch.
Only eight.
But they're there. People should be watching them.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people, absolutely. And that's a good answer too. I feel like that's not an answer I hear a lot, so I appreciate that as well. All right. As always, we'd love you to submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section. Send us a DM on Instagram. Haven't been seeing a lot of that. And join the Discord. next week we'll be asking you, or I'm asking you now, but next week we'll read the answers for this question. Do spoilers affect your enjoyment of a movie? And to what extent, I suppose, the question implies. Let us know in all those places, please. Jaden, it is time to announce this month's Instagram poll. I'll be going head to head with you. I'm looking to reclaim my throne, and I'm looking to win a continued streak that will last longer than any before. Just so you know, I'm quite ambitious here. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm going to reign with terror. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go?
Yeah, as defending champion, I'll force you to go first.
That's true. Normally the champion enters last. That's fair. I will be nominating Edge of Tomorrow.
Cool.
Tom Cruise views, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Good choice. I'll be nominating Poltergeist, the original Poltergeist.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, a bit late. October's over, but I watch scary movies all year round, so I'll force you guys to as well.
Yeah, Nate. Appropriately late for this show.
Mm.
That's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. Fitzy, what are we watching next week?
We're doing a first Nolan film, right? Yeah, first Nolan film.
So exciting.
Yeah. Dude, how crazy is it that we're live in the recording right now with Jaden here?
I know.
That's so crazy. Hey,
I'm
Jaden,
so glad he's
what's
here.
up?
I'm so glad he's here, yeah.
Yeah. But no, we're doing the classic The Prestige. And is that on everything? Foxtel? It's on standard Netflix, at least. So get around that one.
All right. Appreciate you guys joining me as always. I appreciate the listeners for going through this one. I hope you tune in next week. The episode's probably going to be 25 minutes long, so I hope you enjoy that. And we'll see you all then. Have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.